Hello everyone, Steven here from Radolescence, and welcome to my top 10 favorite fragrances for the winter of 2014, and this is the designer edition. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you the 10 fragrances that I absolutely cannot wait to wear this winter season. I already did a niche version of this video. I'm going to leave a link to that here if you have not yet seen that video. This is going to be the designer version, not the niche version. So these are 10 fragrances that I absolutely cannot wait to wear this season. As a matter of fact, we are in the heart of winter right now. I have already been wearing a lot of these fragrances this winter, so I'm kind of glad at going about this knowing that this is going to be more of an accurate list. Now, two things before I dive into the list. First thing that I want to say is that this is a list that I put together myself. I did not find this online or in a magazine or anything. So this is fragrances that cater to my personal taste. So if you don't see some fragrances in this list, it's not necessarily because I think they're worse than the fragrances in this list, or because I feel like the fragrances in this list are better. It's nothing like that. It's just that as far as it caters to my personal taste, these are fragrances that I'm going to be enjoying wearing a lot more this season. And then also, there are going to be a lot of fragrances that are not going to make this list. Again, that's not necessarily because I don't like them. It could also be because I don't own them. So I know for a fact there are a lot of fragrances that could have made this list. I have probably 2 or 3 off the top of my head, but just because I don't own them, that's the only reason, that's the sole reason why they're not making it in this video. So without further ado, these are my top 10 favorite fragrances for the winter of 2014. So we're going to kick it off with number 10. I don't have any honorable mentions. Number 10 is a fragrance that I've been wearing a lot lately. It's still not one of my favorite fragrances, and it's definitely not my favorite from the house, but I think there's definitely a lot of potential to it, and I think it's a great fragrance and it really stands out from other fragrances in my collection. There's one counterpart that I can kind of compare it to, but not entirely. This is a beautiful incense vetiver combo, but it doesn't come across necessarily dirty. It's from the house of Christian Dior, and this is called Eau Sauvage Parfum. So this is the Parfum edition of Eau Sauvage by Christian Dior. This is a really nice, very clean, sophisticated vetiver fragrance, and I'm used to dirty vetivers. As a matter of fact, there's a really dirty vetiver on this list. This is a clean version of that. So this is a great upscale, kind of sophisticated, refined, business-type fragrance. I could definitely see myself wearing this to work. I have worn this to work a few times, not as much as I would like to, but it definitely has that professional, sophisticated appeal to it. I would even vouch to say that it comes across a little mature in somewhat of a dated way. I don't think that this is as dated as the original Eau Sauvage, but I do think that it definitely offers a contemporary modern twist to the composition. I can still see somebody, a modern man pulling this off, but I do think it still has somewhat of a dated vibe to it. So just my 2 cents, and my honest and humble opinion on this matter. So excellent fragrance. So number 10 on my list, Eau Sauvage Parfum by Christian Dior. And number 9 on my list is a fragrance that when I first tried it, I wasn't that crazy about it. And I think that's because of the clash of ingredients that you get in the opening. And it's a great fragrance. It's starting to get more love. And I'm really happy to see that it's done by one of my all-time favorite perfumers. I believe 3 of her fragrances have made this list. This is a fragrance by Annick Menardo. And the fragrance is none other than Cocorico by Jean-Paul Gaultier. So as you can tell from the bottle, it's the side of a man's head, and then here you see the double entendre of the male profile. It actually looks like a torso, or a body, the upper half of a body. It actually resembles the Le Male bottles by Jean-Paul Gaultier. This is a great combo of cacao, or cocoa, and fig. And that's how it opens up. The opening of this fragrance is purposely supposed to be harsh, like a rooster's cry, hence the name Cocorico. But I feel like as harsh as the ingredients are, I have not smelled cocoa done this way in a designer fragrance. I know it gets compared a lot to L'Instant de Guerlain Pour Homme Eau Extrême, but in a designer fragrance, I have not smelled cocoa done this way, and I really turn to this fragrance to get my cocoa fix. It's actually a great fragrance. I know there's another one by Tokyo Milk called Bittersweet, I think. Either Bittersweet or Bulletproof. And I think that that's comparable to this one, but I would still choose this fragrance miles over the other one. So great fragrance from the house of Jean-Paul Gaultier. It's called Cocorico. So to number 8 on my list is the dirty vetiver that I was talking about. So if you can picture this, the clean vetiver incense combo, this is the dirty vetiver incense combo. Without further ado, it's from the house of Gucci. and this is Gucci Pour Homme 1. Now, this fragrance was released when Tom Ford was backing the house, and this is a fragrance that to me reminds me a lot of Vetiver 46 by Le Labo. It also reminds me a lot of another fragrance, can't quite put my finger on it now. Oh, Comme des Garçons 2 Man. I think that this is the designer version of those two fragrances, but this is a great fragrance. It's a little bit more on the daring side. I probably would not wear this on a date or, you know, in a casual scenario, but maybe in a more formal scenario, suit and tie, when you know you're not going to be around a lot of other people, just because I'm just a little bit weary about how others are going to perceive this. But this is a beautiful, very dirty vetiver incense combo. It really stands out, really potent, brave, and daring fragrance in my collection. So that is number 8 on my list, Gucci Pour Homme 1 from the House of Gucci. Number 7 on my list is very different from that. It's not clean, but it's very sweet. And this is the other, I believe it's Annick Minardo who did this fragrance. She is responsible for Cocorico. I think she also did this one. I know she did the original. This is a flanker of the original. This is the most recent release, I believe released last year, or at least that's when I bought it. And it's from the house of Lolita Lempicka. And this is called Eau Masculine, Eau de Minuit. So this is the Midnight Collection. And this is, for me, basically, it's the original Eau Masculine, but with oud in it. So of course, oud is that note that could come across being kind of harsh, a little smoky, somewhat medicinal. Some people find it to be offensive. Some people have even gone as far as saying it smells like body odor, and those are the barnyard ouds. But this fragrance, because it's coupled with all these other sweet notes and sweet facets, it really doesn't give the oud a chance to be dirty. I mean, with this fragrance you have licorice and star anise and vanilla, and it has somewhat of a coumarinic dry down, and there are all these sweet elements to it that it really doesn't even give the oud a chance to be dirty. I think it's a great fragrance, and it's a much more sophisticated version of the original, while still being extremely playful. So if you think that the sweetness is going to be toned down because of the oud, think again. It's still incredibly sweet, but the oud just adds this nice little contemporary touch just to go along with the rest of the competition and to follow the bandwagon or the trend of what other fragrances are doing, if you will. So great fragrance from the house of Lolita Lempicka, Eau Masculine, Eau de Minuit. So we have 10, 9, 8, 7. Number 6 on my list is a fragrance that I put in here just because I feel like the performance is not the best. It's really good performance, and I think it does really well in the winter, but it's also probably the most wearable fragrance in this entire list. Yeah, hands down, this is the most wearable fragrance in this list. This is a fragrance that has been talked about a lot in the community. Everybody loves this fragrance, and there's a very good reason why people love it. This is one of the most complimented fragrances in my entire collection. I will have to do a list on that soon, but this is from the house of Yves Saint Laurent, and it's called La Nuit de l'Homme. So it translates to the Night of the Man. This is a very spicy fragrance. It opens up with a blast of cardamom, which is a spice. Some people have even said it kind of has like a cocoa feel to it, somewhat like a chocolate powder feel, and I can kind of get that, and I think that's just because this fragrance comes across a little powdery. It's powdery, but not to the extent of Burberry's Brit, I think. I still think it's very wearable, and I actually like the smell of powder, and I think that this fragrance does a really, really good job at keeping it like a young, you know, professional, you know, casual, but also sophisticated feel to it. I think a lot of these fragrances are sophisticated with the exception of, you know, the overly sweet ones, particularly the Annick Minardo compositions. But in any case, I think this is a great fragrance. Definitely picture someone 21 and up wearing this fragrance, and I think it's a great one from the house of Yves Saint Laurent. It's called La Nuit de l'Homme. So now we're down to the top 5 fragrances in this collection, and we have a few gourmands left, and we're going to kick it off with number 5. Number 5 is from the house of Thierry Mugler. I really did consider putting either Pure Malt or Pure Havane on this list. I think the performance on Pure Havane is a little bit better than that of Pure Malt, but I have been wearing it so much in the fall that I decided I wanted to do something a little bit different this winter. Now, Pure Havane is a great powerhouse fragrance. I believe it could be worn very easily in the winter, but simply considering that I've been wearing it so much in the fall, I want to deviate and I want to try to wear something that I have not been wearing, or something that I've been neglecting, especially since last year when I reviewed it. It's a fragrance from the house of Thierry Mugler. This is called Angelman Pure Leather, or Le Parfums de Cuir, I think. So the fragrances of leather is basically what that translates to. And with Pure Leather, basically what you get is the original Amen, but with a leather undertone. Now, I know it's not an extremely authentic leather note. I know it's not like, you know, Tuscan leather or Pure Distance M or Duetto Parfums by Golden Boy or Oud leather by Montal, but it's a really nice leather nevertheless. I know it doesn't come across authentic, but I feel like the original Amen DNA that's present in this fragrance, and this is the one that closely resembles the original the most, I feel like that serves as the redeeming factor in this fragrance. And I think that because of that added leather note, this has incredible versatility. So whereas with the original, with that tar note amped up in the patchouli and it's almost sickly sweet characteristics, I feel a little hesitant or reluctant about wearing it in public, really apprehensive. With this fragrance, on the other hand, I wear it with a greater degree of comfort. So I'm actually really happy to have this fragrance in my collection. Excellent, very versatile with that added leather note from the house of Thierry Mugler. It's called Angel Men Pure Leather. So now we're down to the top 4, and number 4 on this list is a fragrance by Natalie Lorson. I think she's an absolute genius, and this is a fragrance that has gotten a lot of love. I think it's a polarizing fragrance. There's definitely that polarity to it. Some people love it, some people hate it. This is from the house of Lalique, and it's called Encre Noire. Now with this fragrance, what you're going to get is this really dark, really mysterious. This and number 3 on my list are both very dark and mysterious, but this is the resinous counterpart of that fragrance. I think it's so incredibly resinous and dark and rich, and it totally stands out. I can definitely see this fragrance not being incredibly versatile. When it comes time for me to review it, that's going to be the highlight of my review, the lack of versatility in this, but it definitely gets a little sweet when it dries down, and I think it becomes a lot more appropriate. This, to me, is also more of like a suit and tie fragrance, just because of how strange it is. I can definitely not, I wouldn't wear this on a date or casually, but with this fragrance, it's a good counterpart to Chanel's, what was it? It's not Coromandel. I know Sycamore by Chanel. Sorry, it was totally escaping my mind for a little bit. So if you don't have the money to purchase that fragrance, this one is definitely worth checking out. As a matter of fact, I might even like this one a little bit better. I'm in a bit of a toss-up. Excellent fragrance, and the performance on this fragrance is also excellent, through the roof. So Encre Noire from the house of Lalique, number 4 on my top 10 list. So we're down to the final 3. Number 3 on my list is also a very dark and mysterious fragrance. It has gotten a little bit of love. There are a lot of people out there who are emerging. They're actually saying that they prefer the musk version of this fragrance a little bit better. I do like the musk version. I got a chance to try it over the summer when I was on vacation, but I always go back to the original. This is a Francis Kurkdjian composition, and absolutely one of my favorites. This is from the house of Narciso Rodriguez, and it's simply entitled Narciso Rodriguez for him. And what you get from this fragrance is a beautiful, mysterious, dark, unconventional, unorthodox take on violet. I know a lot of people have said this fragrance can come across smelling somewhat like a wet sidewalk, and I totally get that. It has this almost gloomy, macabre feel to it, but it's definitely very dark and mysterious. But I think that this fragrance really benefits from having that mysterious quality. It just makes the fragrance that much more enjoyable or entertaining, if you will. So again, from the house of Narciso Rodriguez, this is Narciso Rodriguez for him. Definitely worth checking out. A modern masterpiece, honestly. This is one of the few fragrances that I would consider a masterpiece. Alright, number 2 on my list is the last Annick Bernardo fragrance on this list. I would argue that this is her 3rd best fragrance ever that I've ever smelled. And this is marketed as a unisex fragrance. Of course, it's a designer fragrance, and it wasn't until fairly recently, within the last 6 months or so, when I started to realize what it is about this fragrance that really makes it so unisex. But again, another unconventional fragrance, a lot of creative risks taken with this fragrance, and which is why I love wearing it, and I'm going to love wearing it that much more this winter. This is from the house of Bulgari, and this fragrance is called Black, the hockey puck of the fragrance industry. So this is Bulgari Black from the house of Bulgari. Like I said, an Annick Bernardo composition. I think that she totally blew it out of the water with this fragrance. What you get is this rubbery smell in the opening, but then when you give this fragrance a chance to dry down, it becomes slightly resinous, but there's this clear vanilla note that really starts to come through, and it really warms up the composition. So it opens up with this unconventional, unorthodox opening, and it dries down to this incredibly alluring and you know, really almost sexy dry down. I think Angelina Jolie wears this fragrance, if I recall reading that correctly online. I read it a while back, but I can definitely see somebody with her persona and her personality and character pulling this fragrance off. It's a great fragrance. I just love the creative risks that were taken in all three of these fragrances, and I think that this is just a great composition by Anique Minardo. I'm definitely looking forward to wearing that a lot more this winter. I have already been wearing it a lot this winter. And then number one on my list is a fragrance that no one here is a stranger to. If you're watching this video, you know what this fragrance is. You might not be able to guess it right away, but this is a fragrance that I had been wearing for a very long time now. At one point, I had a few bottles of it in my collection. I think I had about 2 bottles of it in my collection, and one of them was a backup bottle that I received over the holidays, and I ended up doing a giveaway because I can't see myself going through this much juice, and I ended up giving it away on my channel, and I think I did well by that because I still have a lot left. I think I still have 75% of my bottle. This is from the house of Christian Dior, and the fragrance is called Dior Homme Intense. You all know about this. This is a great fragrance. It opens up with that iris note that's very balmy, kind of waxy, but then it dries down to that sweetness in the dry down. I believe it's tonka bean and pear and ambrette, which kind of gives it that very mild fruity quality, but it's definitely a sweeter version of the original, a little darker too. Also very alluring. This is probably the sexiest fragrance out of all of these. I said this one was a little sexy in the dry down. This is probably the fragrance that takes the cake for that. Excellent fragrance. Been wearing it a lot. One of the most complimented fragrances in my entire collection. It seems like many times that I've worn this fragrance, I have people asking me what I'm wearing. So guys, there you have it. Thank you so much for watching my video. These have been my top 10 favorite fragrances for the winter of 2014, and this is a designer version. So if you have tried or own any of these fragrances, please let me know what you think by leaving a comment down below. Also, what are your top 10 or top 5 favorite fragrances for this winter that you have been wearing? Please feel free to let me know by leaving a comment down below. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to let me know. Leave a comment down below, shoot me a message, try to get in contact with me. I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. And please don't forget to comment, rate, and subscribe. It would be greatly appreciated. So again, thank you guys so much for watching. This has been Steven with another video from Redolescence. Take care.